what would be your quick start guide for people to go action and to take to break down those data silos?
Every single user in an enterprise, every role, every function is innovating in their own way.
Welcome everybody to SAP Beyond Next. My name is Chris Ortega, CEO of Fresh FP&A, and today I'm super excited to be joined by Jagadish, partner CTO of BTP at SAP. Jagadish, welcome to Beyond Next.
Absolutely, Chris. Glad to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So Jagadish, I know CTO, CIO, CROs, all the C-suite. They're trying to wrangle in all this data. They're trying to bring insights to quicker insights. They're trying to get this agility. They're trying to wrangle in all of this data to be more innovative. So today in our topic, we're going to be talking about breaking down data silos through enterprise innovation. So my first lead off question is, what is enterprise innovation and why it's important for the C-suite and businesses?
Great topic. An excellent point in time where innovation is just the rate of change of innovation is just never been faster than ever before, right? So before I answer your question directly, I just want to make one point, which is enterprise innovation is not just happening in think tanks and strategy organizations and the C-suite, right? I think the dramatic shift that we are seeing is really the democratization of innovation, meaning every single user in an enterprise, every role, every function is innovating in their own way. Yeah. So any technology that an enterprise uses, or its people use, or its departments and business units use, that produces a positive business outcome is innovation. It could be agility. It could be simple as an end user's productivity. I'm working in the finance department. I'm working in the HR department. I'm doing all this repetitive work. Hey, I can find a bot, a software bot, and just build a bot myself. I have done innovation because that productivity that I have just suddenly given back to my company, my enterprise, allows me to use that time for much more better use than just entering data from one system to the other. So whether you talk about a user doing it, whether a business unit kind of works together to get more insights into their business, or as you said, at a CIO level or a CRO level, they look at enterprise-wide kind of processes and enterprise-wide business problems to make them more agile, make it more flexible, drive higher productivity, drive better ROI on investments. All of that, the use of technology to deliver all of that is innovation, and in a digital enterprise, it's everywhere. I think that's at the heart of this dramatic shift that we are seeing in the market.
Love that point, Jagadish. And like, I think so many times when you hear the word enterprise innovation, you're thinking of this big grandioso monumental like 10 month project that you gotta wrangle all these people in. I love how you broke it down that it could be simple steps, man. Like it's simple steps along the way, simple steps in whether you're working in HR and you're trying to have a more frictionless onboarding process, like that's innovation, right? And it can be coupled with like processes, it can be coupled with technology. I love how you broke it down that it could be all these individual work streams inside the organizations that are being innovative, particularly in the finance organization. We're an organization that is poised for innovation. And it's not just necessarily innovation when it comes to technology, right? You can be innovative by streamlining a process, right?
Sure.
You can be innovative by putting people in the right positions to make higher value activities and higher value tasking they're doing. So I love how you mentioned
Absolutely.
that innovation is not just a technology play. It can be process innovation, it can be people innovation, and it's through all levels of the organization.
Exactly, across the enterprise, and that is where the a IT department in an enterprise or the CIO's organization doing something, rolling it out, and then finally the end users start using whatever they are given, right? They're given an enterprise system, they're given a CRM system, they're given an HR system, and they are saying, well, yeah, work with this. If you ask the end users, they will tell you, well, this is so confusing. I don't like the way this looks. It becomes very hard, blah, blah, blah. Well, the tools are now available for them to change their process, change the way they work at their level without touching anybody else in the enterprise. They can participate in that innovation. It's not just the function of a limited few where somebody decides what innovation means. Those days are gone. And I think that is where an enterprise is going to significantly benefit, because if 10 people in an IT department innovate versus 1,000 people in the enterprise innovate, guess what's going to be more useful to the enterprise, right? So it's that I think is the most exciting part of this journey. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I love that aspect of it. Like, I remember being in so many different high growth technology companies, right? And you being in there, one of the major things that when we came across, whether it was process innovation, whether it was technology innovation, whatever innovation that we were leading, we tried to make sure that we didn't exclude IT, but that they weren't a limiting factor, right? Like, gone are the days, like you mentioned, where you can't have a technology, you got to have it in your entire IT structure, and like if you want to make a change to your technology, you need IT to make the change. I think technology has advanced and empowered and enabled the organization so much that you can have your IT, your CTO, your information officer, they can be right in that car with you driving that, versus like being the gatekeepers to technology. I think that has really,
Exactly.
and that exactly what you mentioned, right? Do you want 10 people in your IT organization being the catalyst of driving innovation? Or do you want to create an environment where people are empowered and enabled to think innovatively, like they're able to optimize processes, right? I think to me, like you nailed it right on the head. That is the most important aspect of it, is that technology has enabled the organization to take innovation by they can command it now. So love that
Exactly.
aspect of it, man.
Exactly. And that's kind
Yeah.
of
So another,
that's kind of where the
yeah,
innovation actually occurs, right? That's where innovation
right.
occurs. But I think the IT departments and the CIO's positions they are in the best position to make that innovation inclusive in enterprise processes, right? So when innovation is happening at the seams of an enterprise, at the user, at the department level, it cannot be happening in a silo, because whatever they do will ultimately need to be brought in for the benefit of the entire enterprise. And that is where the IT departments and the CIO's office and all the kind of the organization wide teams, that becomes their most important function, is to to get the right data, the right information to the end user so they can innovate and do their job properly. And whatever they are innovating, getting into their respective business functions, is brought back into the entire process. So the process becomes highly inclusive, yet you have innovation happening at the seams. So both things, both sides of the coin are very important. One cannot live without the other. Suddenly innovation at the seams doesn't mean we don't need the IT department, right? I mean, that's we absolutely need it, because making sure the dots connect properly is something that an enterprise will not function if those dots are not connected properly. So innovation is important, but inclusive innovation, and that's kind of where the business process comes in. That's where the enterprise becomes whole. I think it still remains a very critical part of the final business outcome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolute. I mean, the inclusive innovation side of it, I love that point of it. One question I want to ask you is, how can people, end users, departments, how can like what is the quick start guide for them to be breaking down those data silos to get to that partnership level? I know for me, and a lot of times in organizations, right? You mentioned connecting the dots, right? A lot of times in breaking down those data silos, you got to go out in the business, right? Like finance has to go partner with the CTO. They have to go partner with the chief information officer. So, like, what would be your quick start guide for people to go action and to take to break down those data silos to drive that enterprise innovation?
Yeah, I think part of it is a CIO or CTO's organization making the platforms available. So if it's a central repository or a data lake, as they call it, to make that data lake available so that the right data for the right role is indeed available for that business unit. So we don't have one department reaching out to the other department as a peer-to-peer kind of an ask, but if a central enterprise data repository is available, then everybody can chime in, everybody can kind of put their hand in and get what they want, right? So that's kind of where the entire data innovation is happening, where collecting the right data, aggregating it, cleansing it, and then drawing value from it. That entire data to value supply chain is most fundamental. The other thing that is happening is that, like, let's take sustainability for example, right? People are saying, well, if I want to become a sustainable enterprise, I cannot live in a silo, right? I mean, your sustainability data is across production, is across logistics, it's across a whole bunch of departments across the enterprise. So getting the right data points which impact sustainable enterprises, that will need to be filtered into that so-called data paradigm, and then you draw out and then you innovate on your sustainability thing, for example. So it is a level, it is a function of getting the data to value in the proper places, and then enabling the respective business units and the users to dip in and to take and to leverage what they want out of that scenario there. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I think if I would just add to that, and looking back over my, finance career and leading a lot of high growth finance organizations, one thing that's been really helpful for me to break down those data silos to drive innovation is a framework that I call the decision cycle. And basically what the decision cycle is, what is the cycle of how the business makes decisions, right? And to me, that decision cycle breaks out to five core pillars. The first one is processes drive data. Data is then turned into information. Information is shared through knowledge to ultimately make a business decision. That entire decision cycle framework, this is where technology becomes super advantageous to the organization, because traditionally you had people in the finance organization, they had to go run the GL, they bring all this stuff together to
Right.
turn it into financial statements, and then from those financial statements they're building knowledge, and then they're sharing that with the organization to make decisions. Well, now when you fast forward to a more modern finance organization, or a more modern technology adopting organization, you want technology to automate process data to information. You don't want people in that, right? You don't want people that are going through and gathering the data, cleansing the data, mining the
Exactly.
data, putting it into their
Exactly.
data mart, and you got an army of people doing that. And then now the business is taking the information and you need people to build knowledge on it. So to me, that decision cycle framework coupled with technology is the best in class, because now you get the tools and technology to help automate and streamline process to information. Then you incorporate the people right at that knowledge and decision making phase. That to me is, like, I think, a scalable way for any organization, whether you're enterprise all the way down to seed SMB level companies, that you can help drive innovation. But I think, the most important aspect of that is what you mentioned too, right? Like, you've got to make sure you're bringing the data that the business needs. Too many times I see in finance organizations, right, Jagadish, where they're measuring like 80 different things. And it's like, I ask myself, how could you be successful in
Yeah,
improving 80 different core metrics? Like, like, unless you have an army of people that are dedicated to those 80
that's
metrics,
fine.
streamline your data. Get the data that is actually making insights, that's driving action. Too many times, too many organizations have these vanity metrics, which are metrics that they just have, and it's just like, you look at it and you don't know, are we doing good? Are we doing bad? Is this good? Like, what should we do? Streamline and simplify your data by leveraging that decision cycle, and as well as what you mentioned. I think that's critical for
Totally agree.
organizations.
Totally agree with you, and love the way you laid it out. The only point I'll add to further what you said is, when you have a process and then you connect the process to the required data, the part that sometimes gets missed is the business context of that data. I mean, you could look at a data as, a database, set of tables, data models, and there's a whole set of technical jargon around the concept of data, right? But when it comes to a business process, the word business becomes the most important one. It's not just a bunch of flowcharts and arrows connecting together, right? A business process means that the data gets a semantic, it has a context. So, if you name a certain table in a database, it doesn't mean much. But when you say it's the cost center hierarchy, or it's the general ledger chart of accounts, it suddenly gets a business meaning, right? So only when you get context assigned to data, semantics assigned to data, that's what brings that data closer to a business process. Without that, it's a bunch of technology, it's a bunch of bits and bytes that a user in finance or a user in HR or a user in production on the shop floor, they're not going to make any sense out of it. And if they don't make any sense out of it, that is a barrier to innovation. They will be able to relate and innovate at their level in a citizen development or in a business unit if the data that is given to them makes business sense. They are not technology people, right? And so, to me, I think that switch from process into data into other parts, there has to be a red line which carries that business context throughout. And without that business context, it's a bunch of technical crap that nobody will get any value out of, right? So I think it's very important that for innovation to occur and innovation to be sustained and innovation to be inclusive, we need the business context assigned to all these technical things.
Jagadish, I love that, man. Like that context to the business, right? Like we have to be able to do that. And your fact pattern and what you laid out is exactly right. And I've seen so many different organizations struggle because they get this data and they're really excited about it. It's key insights, but that translation is lost to the business, right? And at the end of the day, right, when you look at the supportive functions of the organization, which are data rich, right? HR, finance, IT, technology, like these are all supportive functions that support the
Yeah,
organization. We have to be able to make that translation. And I love that gap between process and data. Maybe there's a filter in that entire framework where it's like that translation happens, where it's not bits and bytes, but it's business context and business clarity. Like we have to be able to turn that from numbers and facts and trends and figures to like digestible pieces that the business can understand. Because if we don't do that, at the end of the day, like we're bringing the business along this entire decision cycle framework, and they're left at the end like, I guess that's the right decision to make. I mean, it sounds right, but the further that we can build that connection, and you mentioned this earlier, right? When we can connect the business in the dots earlier on and get that buy-in early, that's when we can scale. That's when innovation doesn't become like 10 people innovating. That's to your point where it's like 1,000 people inside the organization innovating because they're able to connect the dots, they're able to get that clarity, and we're able to make that translation through technology. Man, this is awesome.
absolutely. No, absolutely well said. And that's our guidance to partners. SAP's position is that the technology that we are bringing for the benefit of our partners so they can add value to their end customers is business centric technology. And so that's the B in BTP, business technology platform. Yeah, it's not just a technology platform with a bunch of tools and other things. It is embedded throughout its functions, its functionality with business contexting. And so if I'm a partner and I'm operating in a certain logistics area or a finance area, when I use those tools and I extend those applications, I am doing this with a business purpose, with a business outcome in mind, whether it be process centric, data centric, integration centric, robots, whatever, right? But we are doing it in the context of business, and this is really where our partners, they have a pulse of the market. They know what customers want, right down to their business units, right? And they are in the best position to relate the customer's requirement into what SAP is coming to the market with in terms of our platform. Yeah.
And if I would just add, like the reason, like partners help build that experience gap and that strategy gap, right? So when I look
Yeah.
at the partners I've worked with, like when you look at organizations, CTOs, CROs, chief human resource officers, all the C-suite, and even all the organization down, right? you already have your task and responsibilities. Throwing innovation on top of that as well, you're going to sit there and be like, man, this is another thing I got to get done. Well, don't look at it that way. If you leverage great partners, now you got a partner to say, hey, you go be focused on what's important to the business. Maybe that CFO, they're focused on sustainability, they're focused on navigating uncertainty, they're focused on, still, navigating the challenges that are facing, but they want to be innovative. Go have a great partner that can help you build the strategies, the tactics, the vision, the milestones, and the metrics that you need. So I think a lot of
Exactly.
times that's where partners, you can leverage them to be like that supplemental horsepower that you need to drive innovation inside the organization. So I think to me that's
Totally.
another point that a lot of people don't think about when you bring on partners is you're bringing the concept of batteries included, right? These are people that have been there, done that, seen
Yeah.
the right, wrong, good, bad, ugly of everything around it. So why not leverage that expertise? Why not bring in that horsepower to help supplement you so you can still stay focused on of what your tasks and responsibilities are, but now you have a dedicated partner to help you drive innovation, to help you build those connections, and to help you break down those data silos. So 100% agree.
Absolutely.
Partnerships around the BTP platform and leveraging that in your company, huge, huge opportunity to scale innovation.
Absolutely. And SAP cannot do it alone, right? I mean, reaching into the far corners of the markets globally, reaching into different market segments, and it's just not possible. But that is more of the traditional geographical and territory mapping thinking, where we need partners to do the kind of all the territories that SAP will not be able to reach to. Well, in the days of innovation, it takes a completely different dimension. A single vendor like SAP will not be able to do all the innovation. It's just back to the same thing. It's 10 people in an enterprise cannot do it. Well, one vendor in the global markets cannot always be the sole authority on innovation. And that's why we need an ecosystem. Again, a wide ecosystem that does that innovation for SAP. It uses our technology, it uses our guidance, it uses our processes and application, and innovates and builds on top of that, right? So now it's suddenly SAP is no longer doing the only entity doing innovation. Of course, we innovate in our own right, but we now have an army of partners who are innovating with us and then delivering that entire value to the end customer. And these companies, partners, they have seen a lot. They have been around for decades. It's when they engage with a certain customer, it's not that they've seen the problem for the first time. They've probably solved it like 5 other times. So they're bringing their talent and they're bringing their accelerators and their templates, and they can give a boost to your productivity and bring that innovation widget to you in a very short time frame. So it's not something to bring in just as an add-on, but these are partners who are bringing significant amount of value to the customer, and behind them is SAP. So they are in touch with us, taking all of SAP's innovation, adding their own on top of it, and really enriching the customer's business at the end. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I think the major point and takeaway from everybody is that leverage partners to help you with that innovation. Innovation can seem like an elephant, but if you break it down foot by foot and leverage best in class partners, get that expertise earlier on in the process, get that buy in from the business, help translate that context to the business, and just know that, technology and innovation can happen at all levels of the organization. Jagadish, this has been an amazing conversation. Before we get done, I like a crystal ball kind of question. So when you think about enterprise innovation, right, and you were to look into your crystal ball, right, what does that look like in the next 3 to 5 years for enterprise organizations?
I think a number of things, but the first thing that comes to mind is really citizen development. I think, like I said before, it's innovation will continue to grow at the boundaries and the seams, and without that, a digital enterprise and digital transformation of an enterprise will not occur. You got to include every single employee, your vendors, your customers, your ecosystem, get them all to come together to work for you as an enterprise to innovate. And there are platforms, tools, business context, data entities, all of that is available from the likes of SAP and our partners to make that possible for customers. So the next 3 to 5 years is continued digital transformation in the cloud and really getting innovation to the seams of an enterprise, and not just this is the technology and everybody else simply uses that technology. No, I think everybody will want to jump onto the innovation bandwagon, and these platforms and technologies is the vehicle for them to do that.
So man, I think yeah, that is the crystal ball, and like I'm inspired. I want to go innovate right now, man. I want from this conversation, I want to drop some
Well,
innovation.
I'll tell you what to do.
Jagadish,
Yeah, I'll tell you what to do. Go log on to SAP Build, and that's where you'll get your citizen development going. Very quick, very easy. Just log on and start innovating.
awesome, awesome. Jagadish, thank you so much for your time. I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation on this SAP Beyond Next. Make sure to stay tuned for all future episodes. Click like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you tap in. Jagadish, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you very much, Chris, as well. It has been a great conversation. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Catch everybody on the next one.